Hello. I know it's been a while since the last time I uploaded a YouTube video. Well, if you don't count the one I uploaded on Monday. But I've been busy, I've been on lots of different shoots, some video gigs, so I haven't had time to upload any YouTube videos because I want to keep the quality nice and high and not just put out videos for the sake of putting out videos. But anyway, hopefully I'm sounding a bit better than I did before because I'm now taking my YouTube quality as far as I can, and I have a shotgun microphone up here. This is the current setup. You can see the boom mic, softbox, camera. Now you may be wondering why I have the blimp and the windshield on my microphone even though I'm filming indoors. Well, maybe I'm worried about a hurricane suddenly appearing inside my bedroom, or maybe I just don't feel like taking the blimp off. Either way, today I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think the Canon C100 Mark II is still relevant in 2018 and in less than a month, 2019 too. Number 1 is the form factor. The Canon C100 Mark II has a form factor that some people like and others not so much. It's not a box like a Red or an Arri Alexa Mini. It has a side handle, a top handle, it has a screen that flips out, and it has a viewfinder on the back. Now, whilst the ergonomics of the camera does make it a bit difficult to transport when it's all put together and fully built, it does mean that the camera is very comfortable to use and there are plenty of places to put your hands when you're operating the camera. The top handle has 2 XLR inputs, which are very useful if you're going to be using the camera on your own. You can go straight from a shotgun microphone into the camera, as the camera can supply 48-volt phantom power. If you want XLR inputs on a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, then you're going to have to use an external recorder or a preamp, which adds complexity and bulk to a rig. And when you take all of the accessories off the Canon C100 Mark II, it's actually a very small cinema camera. Even the Sony FS5 and the Blackmagic Ursa Mini are significantly bigger and heavier. And this makes it really good for gimbal work, because if you have a smaller, lighter camera, then you can get away with a smaller and cheaper gimbal. I actually don't have a proper rig for my C100 Mark II. Because of all the handles and the screw hole on top where you can mount an external recorder, I actually find that all the functionality I need is built right into the camera. This saves you money and space, and you have a quicker setup time, and your overall camera package is less complicated. Now, I would like a proper shoulder rig. Right now I have a DSLR one where you have 2 handles and you have the camera here, whereas with a cinema camera shoulder rig you want the camera over your shoulder because that's more in line with the center of gravity. But even without that, most of the time I can get away with just hand holding the camera. Which is good because shoulder rigs are very expensive, like pretty much every piece of filmmaking equipment. Number 2. Whilst the camera on paper might not sound good if you're looking for resolution, high frame rates, all of the headline image quality specs, if you look at the practicality specs, then the C100 Mark II actually does pretty well. You have 3 different levels of ND via the built-in ND wheel. That has made my life so much easier not having to worry about external screw-in ND filters. Occasionally I might use a graduated ND filter if I'm filming outside, but with the built-in ND filter wheel, unless you're filming at f1.4, then you have more than enough ND for pretty much any situation. You have dual card slots, so you can either record to one card then the other card, or you can record to both cards simultaneously for a backup. This is a feature that you won't find on many other DSLRs or smaller mirrorless cameras. Now, having dual card slots isn't something that I'm personally too bothered about, but some people are, especially those who are going to be filming events like conferences or theatre productions. And when I do film those, it's nice to have the option of dual card slots just in case. And the battery life on the C100 Mark II is also amazing. You can get 2 to 3 hours on one battery. Now, genuine Canon batteries are quite expensive, but you can buy knockoff ones that are pretty good too. I've actually only got 2 batteries for the C100 Mark II, and battery life has never been a problem. 2 batteries is easily enough to last a full day shoot if you turn the camera on and off when you're not using it. Well, just off. Number 3 is reliability. This is taking all of my self-control to not take pot shots at Blackmagic and Sony because that's just unnecessary, but true. Keeping this neutral, keeping this about Canon. Canon are a very reliable camera manufacturing company. I am not saying that Canon cameras never break, because anything electronical can break and sometimes it will. I'm pretty sure that if you look at all of the different brands that are commonly used for filmmaking, Canon is going to be one of the most reliable, right up there with Arri. The Canon cinema cameras are used extensively in the film industry. They're used in America and Hollywood. Over here we have the BBC. The C300 was all over the BBC at one point. Now it's a little bit dated, but a few years ago it was the go-to camera. These cameras are very well proven, they are very reliable, and I have never had a single problem with my C100 Mark II. Number 4. After everything I just said in number 3 about not making this video too controversial, here we come right up with a controversial point: price and value for money. Now, before I get a load of angry and annoyed comments, I'm going to try and justify why I think a £3,000 camera that can't shoot 4K is still good value for money in this current day and age. Yeah, 4K is taking over, it's becoming a bit of a new standard. Most new cameras can shoot it, and if you were to buy a camera that's been put out in the last 2 years, I would definitely say you want a 4K one. But I think that the C100 Mark II can actually get away with it. I don't think many people are going to argue with me when I say that the C100 Mark II is more practical than a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Okay, it's a bit bigger, but as I've previously stated, you've got the XLR inputs, you've got long battery life, you've got all the side handles. You don't really need a rig for the camera. You can get away with 1 or 2 SD cards, and you don't need hundreds of batteries. So when it comes to accessorizing the camera, if you try and get a DSLR or a mirrorless like a Sony A7 series or even a Canon 5D Mark IV, and you try and rig it out to have the same functionality as a C100 Mark II, that is with high quality components, you're going to be spending more than £3,000, especially by the time you've got a battery solution, you've got a cage, you've got handles, you've got all the recording storage media. And if we compare the C100 Mark II to other cinema cameras, as far as I'm aware there is only one other cinema camera, apart from the C100, that is cheaper than the C100 Mark II, and that is the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4K. By the time you've bought a few CFast cards for it and you've bought a few batteries for it, if you've got the top handle, you're going to be over £3,000, and it's going to be a more expensive camera package than the C100 Mark II. I think the only cinema camera that's cheaper than this is the original C100, but that's less than £1,000 cheaper, and I think that all of the upgrades in ergonomics and image quality make the 100 Mark II a worthwhile investment compared to the C100. And number 5, the final point, is despite the lack of 4K, the image quality. Okay, it's not the highest resolution image on the planet, but it's still a very nice image. 12 stops of dynamic range is certainly not some ludicrously high number like the Red Raven or the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro that have 15-16 stops. But as long as you shoot in C-Log, which I think you should always shoot in C-Log, or at the very least in the wide dynamic range gamma, but if you're shooting C-Log, you can get by with only 12 stops of dynamic range as long as you make sure to protect your highlights and don't blow them out. And one of the things that really makes a high quality image is the colour science, and the colour science with the Canon cinema cameras is so good. I really like the colours that you get. With just a little bit of grading you can get amazing looking footage. Skin tones look nice and pleasing and realistic, and in general I find the Canon Cinema series, and in fact all Canon cameras, have a very nice way of handling the colour red, which is something I've seen problems with on other camera manufacturers. You've also got really good low light. Not quite as good as the Sony A7S series, but a lot better than most other cinema cameras. You can shoot at ISO 6400 without too many problems, and you can even go up to 12800 too if you're okay with doing a bit of noise reduction in post. The C100 Mark II can shoot up to ISO 82000, but I wouldn't actually recommend going that high because your image gets quite noisy. And if you're using a Canon L lens or even a Sigma Art lens, really anything with good autofocus, you can make use of a dual pixel autofocus and gimbal shots to get some really nice shallow depth of field, camera floating through the air type shots. I know there's a lot of sentiment about, well, if you're doing cinema you should have manual control over everything, but quite frankly I'm not always doing cinema, I'm doing more video type projects, and even when I am doing cinema projects like short films, with the autofocus, I can get shots that otherwise I wouldn't be able to get, especially when I have my camera on the Movi M5. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about the image, not about how you got it. So to finish off then, I think that if you're looking for a cinema camera in 2018 or 2019, you have £3,000, then you should definitely consider the C100 Mark II. In fact, if I was told that I had to film a project, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I was going to get some amazing footage, it was going to be a career-changing event, but I wasn't told what kind of a project it was going to be. It could be a documentary, a short film, there could be low light, there could be who knows what, then without a doubt, the camera that I would take would be a Canon C200. But if I didn't have £7,000 to spend on the camera, then it would be a C100 Mark II. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it useful. I also hope you appreciate the increase in production value that I have been striving for. Hopefully that comes across in this video. If you want to see more videos, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing so as not to miss any new videos. I think I just did my outro in the wrong order, but anyway, see you later.